Hi, welcome to Straz Recap. Today, I am going to explain an American horror crime movie titled My Friend Dahmer, which was released in the year 2017. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. The movie opens in the year 1974, introducing us to a high school freshman, Jeffrey Dahmer. He lives in Ohio with his parents Lionel and Joyce, and his younger brother Dave. Jeff is currently seen in the school bus heading back home. On the way, the bus passes a man on a jog. Jeff is so fascinated by the man that he gets up from his seat just to watch him. Even when he gets off the bus, he keeps watching the jogger until he goes out of sight. Upon arriving home, Jeff finds his mother talking to an interior decorator who is apparently going to redo their house. This man has cerebral palsy, and Jeff begins to imitate him, earning a scolding from his mother. Afterwards, he is walking down the road with a plastic bag in his hand when he comes across a couple of neighboring teens. They ask him about the bag's contents, and Jeff reveals that it's a dead cat. He explains that he's going to dissolve it using chemicals, which he has access to because his father is a chemist. Curious, the two boys follow Jeff to his father's laboratory shed, where he has collected several dead animals in jars. He then proceeds to dissolve the cat, while explaining that the process will take nearly a month because the acid is weak. Jeff enjoys doing this simply because he loves bones and is interested in what's inside the body. However, the two teen boys are still skeptical and believe that Jeff is simply pouring muddy water. To prove himself, Jeff smashes one of the jars on the ground, spilling the acid and dissolved animal. The boys find themselves disgusted by the foul stench and flee the scene, calling him a freak. Later during dinner, Jeff tries to take a chicken leg, but he's told to give it to his brother despite his preference for dark meat. Through their conversation, we learn that Lionel wants Jeff to become more social. However, it's clearly not easy for him because all of his fellow schoolmates think he's weird and some even bully him. The only one who talks to him is an awkward boy just like him. The following day at school, the awkward boy comes to sit next to Jeff during lunch. He asks if he wants to go to a concert together, which Jeff agrees to. Later during biology class, Jeff seems to be fascinated by a preserved animal inside a jar. As a result, he creepily steals it and takes it to his father's laboratory shed after school. When he gets back home, he hears his parents arguing over Joyce's decision of going back to work. Lionel claims that she just got out of a mental hospital and is in no condition to do so, but the latter dismisses his concern. Jeff then tenderly guides his little brother away so that he won't have to listen to all this. The next day, he exits the school after his band practice and finds his only friend being harassed by two bullies. Despite this, Jeff opts to walk away, not wanting to get himself in trouble. Later, Lionel returns home early from work and learns from Dave that Jeff has been in his shed for hours. Infuriated by his lack of social progress, Lionel drags a trash can to the shed and bursts in. He discards all of Jeff's collection, ordering him to stop this and be more normal. Moreover, Lionel also resolves to dismantle the shed for good. This leaves Jeff devastated, as it's the sole place where he finds enjoyment. Upon returning home from school the next day, Jeff discovers that his father has indeed demolished the shed as promised. Nonetheless, he digs through the wreckage and salvages a few animal bones. Sitting by the roadside, Jeff rolls the bones in his hands and watches the jogger run by. Later at home, he is approached by his father, who apologizes for being harsh earlier. He explains that he doesn't want Jeff to end up like him, who spends too much time in labs and doesn't have many friends. As a gesture of reconciliation, Lionel presents Jeff with dumbbells so that he can work out and hopefully get a girl's attention someday. The teenager accepts the gift and begins working out, but he still hasn't given up on his interests. He secretly spends his days out in the woods, trapping animals in hopes of collecting their bones. One day, a history teacher asks Jeff a question, but the latter fails to come up with an answer when the teacher presses him. He speaks in a silly voice, imitating his mother's interior designer. Surprisingly, his act gets the entire class laughing, and Jeff sees this as an opportunity to make friends. As a result, he makes weird noises and gestures while walking down the hallway later. He even pretends to have a seizure to get everyone to laugh, which actually works. Eventually, this becomes a thing he's known for. One day, a group of boys named John, Neil and Mike, who think he's hilarious, ask him to join them for lunch. The trio finds it so funny that they decide to form the Dahmer fan club. The four of them get along so well that they begin coming up with epic pranks to liven up their senior year. They start by getting Jeff to make random noises in the library, and blame it on someone else. Next, they run down the hallway, pretending to have seizures. In the midst of Jeff's seemingly improving social life, he discovers that his former drug addict mother is having a relapse. He tells her to go to the doctor, but she brushes him off. Despite being worried, Jeff goes along with his days. One day, while he is out fishing with his friends, he manages to catch one. His friends ask him to let the poor fish go, but Jeff violently cuts it open, freaking them out. In the next scene, the four friends are thinking of an epic prank for the school's yearbook. During this, Jeff comes up with an idea that he should be placed in every club photo despite the fact that he's in none of them. The group thinks that it's a brilliant idea and agrees to do the same. The very next day, they carry out their plan. Jeff is placed in every photo. While everyone smiles, he has a flat, monotone look on his face. After school, Jeff brings John home to excitedly announce to his father that he's joined a lot of clubs this year. However, his father is too busy arguing with his mother. The fight eventually makes John feel awkward, so he excuses himself and leaves. Apart from all of this, Jeff is still stalking the jogger secretly, appearing as if he has developed a crush on him. Until one day, it just so happens that the friends are hanging out when the same jogger shows up. Mike greets him as Dr. Matthews, who turns out to be their family doctor. Later on, Jeff returns home and again finds his parents arguing. Dad then takes a bottle of liquor to calm himself down, but Jeff sneakily steals it later. From this point onwards, he starts drinking. The following day, Jeff and his friends are casually talking in school when they're approached by their drug dealer classmate. He shows them a pocket knife which was given to him by his former Nazi father. He then uses it to cut himself and begins sucking his own blood. The group, except for Jeff, finds it disturbing, prompting them to walk away. As time passes by, Jeff becomes alcoholic and even attends school under the influence. One day, he goes on an overnight school trip to Washington, D.C., during which he shares a room with Charlie, the only black person in his class. Jeff discreetly checks him out and suddenly begins to ask him a very disturbing question: whether a black person's internal organs are the same color as a white person's. Charlie is initially weirded out, but he's probably used to racist questions, so he decides to ignore him. When the boys are walking down the streets of D.C. the next day, they joke about getting an interview with the vice president for their school newspaper. Jeff takes this seriously and goes to a nearby phone booth to make a call to the White House. Much to everyone's surprise, he manages to secure a pass into the building. The two then enter the White House and manage to have a brief conversation with the vice president, making them overjoyed. After the joyful trip, they return home on a high note. However, Jeff's happiness doesn't last long, as his father breaks the news that he and Joyce are on the verge of divorce. This news deeply saddens Jeff, and to complicate the matter, he can't stop thinking about Dr. Matthews. Subsequently, he feigns illness and visits the doctor. Matthews conducts his overall body checkup, and during the hernia examination, he feels uncomfortable to see that Jeff has an erection. In the aftermath of this incident, Jeff becomes aware of his sexuality, so he keeps himself silent when his friends talk about girls. Eventually, his friends pick up on how odd and distant he's been. The scene then cuts to the day when the yearbook photos finally get printed. The boys laugh upon seeing Jeff in every single photo. But when the teacher notices this, she uses a marker to blot him out of the photos. In the meantime, Jeff is drowning in both his parents' impending divorce as well as his sexual awakening. To comfort himself, he locks himself up in his room and imagines himself cuddling Matthew's body. On the other hand, Jeff's friends are hanging out when a couple of their classmates tease them for being boring since they aren't with Jeff lately. Feeling challenged, John bets that he can get Jeff to perform a fake seizure at the mall this weekend. Neil isn't happy to hear this because he feels like they're using Jeff as their entertainment toy. However, John goes on with his plan and bribes Jeff with some money to get him to say yes. The scene then fast forwards to the weekend day where the boys head to the mall. There, Jeff performs his seizure act, while his friends stand back and enjoy. One of them even records, as Jeff proceeds to humiliate himself for their entertainment. This goes on for a while until Jeff gets tired of all of this. He seems to realize that he's just a spectacle to these teen boys. To add up to his stress, Jeff returns home and learns from his mother that the divorce has been finalized and that his father is getting the house. A few days later, the entire school starts to talk about prom. During this, Mike makes fun of Jeff, saying that there's no way any girl would want to go to prom with him. This offends Jeff, so he goes right ahead and asks a fresher named Bridget to prom. She initially refuses, as he always does weird things, but he somehow manages to convince her with his goofy nature. Finally, the prom night arrives, and Jeff makes it to the venue with Bridget, leaving his friends surprised. But when it's time to dance, Jeff grows uncomfortable as he's not attracted to girls. Thus, he excuses himself and leaves the venue, abandoning Bridget behind. The following day, Jeff returns home from school, only to find his mother stuffing her belongings into her car. Turns out she and Dave are leaving to live with their relatives. This breaks Jeff's heart because they won't be present for his graduation. He doesn't let his emotion appear on his face, but he bursts out in tears after they leave. On the graduation day, Jeff doesn't look excited, but his father is there to cheer him up. Lionel expresses his pride in Jeff and also hands him the keys to the family car. Later that evening, John is driving when he spots Jeff walking alone by the side of the road. He offers him a ride home, which the latter accepts. John then notices blood on Jeff's fingernails, but the creepy teenager simply claims that it's paint. Shortly after, they arrive at Jeff's place, and he invites John inside for a beer. But as soon as they enter, John senses something amiss as the house is in complete darkness. Frightened, he begins to walk away, saying his mother is waiting for him. At this moment, Jeff grabs a baseball bat, intending to strike him from behind, but he soon changes his mind and lets him leave. On the next day, Jeff gets into his dad's car and drives around the city. During this, he comes across a hitchhiker, Steven, and gives him a ride. The movie ends with the closing credits, mentioning that Steven was never seen again. Furthermore, Jeffrey Dahmer was arrested and confessed to murdering 17 young men in 1991. This is my explanation for the movie, My Friend Dahmer. So what do you guys think about the movie? Write in the comment. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.